Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us on our inaugural OLBG hangout to discuss the US Open. It's all about Chambers Bay. Not long now, 5 days away till the first tee-off, and I'm delighted to say I'm joined by a couple of, well, I'd describe them as experts. First of all, we've got our very own OLBG staff member, Dean Goddard, who's joining us. Good evening, Dean.
Hi, Sam. You all right?
Yeah, I hope you got some good selections for us tonight. I know you're a man that enjoys a little bit of a bet on the golf, so we shall be coming to you to discuss all your picks and fancies as we go along this evening. The other man we've got on the panel tonight that's going to point us in the right direction, we hope, is we've got OLBG member David. David, I'm going to give you a minute just to introduce yourself, because we won't be as familiar to these broadcasts as Dean and myself. Just a little bit of background on your golf betting maybe, and your history with OLBG.
Yeah, so my name's Dave. My OLBG username is Moodyman. I joined OLBG back in early 2013, and I've been a regular contributor since then. I've been betting on golf for about 6 years, roughly, with decent success on a yearly basis. My style, I suppose, would be I usually back 4 to 5 players pre-tournament, and sometimes dabble in kind of first-round leader markets, top 10 finish markets, and top 20 finish markets occasionally. And yeah, that's basically me.
Excellent.
And
oh, go on.
I suppose my one of my biggest winners, I suppose, would have been the Patrick Reed when he first won in the Wyndham Championship. Had him at around 80 to 1, so that would be a big winner. That was his first win on the PGA Tour. I think, if memory serves, I think it was 2013 or 2013. I think. Yeah.
Dave, if you give us those kind of price winners, you'll be welcome back. We can move out to preview the golf, so we'll give you a word of warning there.
No worries.
I'm delighted to say that I think this year's event's being held at what I would describe as quite a novel course, and I thought that's what we could touch on to start with. We won't go into huge detail, but we actually had a tweet in about this when I put out the fact that we're going to be discussing this particular tournament. And one of the questions was, how important should I factor in, this person tweeted, should I factor in how the course is laid out? Now, there's a lot of different contrasting views on it. A lot of people take the view that, well, it's the same players on the tournaments that play these courses, and I look at players exclusively and I'm not so worried. Dave, I was just wondering if we can get your take to start with on what your view on this particular course is, and in general to your betting when it comes to golf. Is it up there on your variable list as something that's very important?
I think it is. I think kind of knowing the course, I think once you get a bit of knowledge on it, you'll kind of get a little bit more knowledge on the player that suits it. So I think a little bit of course knowledge, not too much. You don't want to, over flood yourself with too much information on the golf course. I think it is a little bit relevant just to know, especially the number of par fours. If par four scoring would be relevant, if there's over kind of 10 or 12 par fours, or if it's going to be long or short, or wide fairways, narrow fairways. So we just just to know what the course will ask of the players, I think, is a little bit important. Yeah.
No, I think that's a really fair comment. As sports betting fans, I think a lot of people, information is key, data is key. People love that. Dean, yourself, are you a stats and numbers kind of guy? Is that the sort of thing you'd be interested in before you even look at the players, yardage of the courses, that kind of thing?
Me?
Sorry, that was for Dean.
Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, Sam. Yeah, course form is important, I think, but the truth is about this Chambers Bay is none of us really know what the players have got in store. I don't think even they know. It's a real quirky course by all accounts. It's a linked course. The tee boxes apparently are that huge that there's a par 3 what they're going to have as short as 120 yards on one day and as long as 240 on another. So I think the key to this course, myself, I think you're going to need some real imagination, and I think you're going to need patience, because I think you're going to get some bad bounces and you're going to turn up on days and it's going to be real, sort of hit and miss type course, and I think you're going to need a bit of patience. I've sort of likened it to, I think it's going to be a Marmite course really. You're going to either turn up and love it or hate it, and if you hate it, you've got no chance, because you're going to be sulking and have the old bottom lip twitching.
Could be really interesting when we see the spread when it comes to effectively where you've got to be to make the cut. Looks like it's going to be 60 plus to go through. for the remainder of the tournament. And like you say, you could find yourself with those at the top pulling quite far away, and it'll be very different. I do agree with you there. You know, I must confess, I watch a lot of the bigger tournaments, and you do tend to get groupings, and I just wonder if that's what we could see now. Well, speaking of groupings, we've actually got the odds taken on the screen at the moment. Now, these are your big hitters we've got at the front of the market, and I thought that's where we could start discussing tonight, guys. I suppose it makes sense to start with our favourite, Mr. McIlroy. He's in there at around a bit. You can get, well, pretty much what would be 6-1 across the board there. Rory, Dean, where do you stand on Rory? Is he going to be the great that we all think and hope he will be?
I think he will, but as for this tournament, looking at the odds, 7-1, I couldn't back him myself. He was brilliant during the month of May. You know, he won the World Match Play, he won at Wells Fargo, but since then, you know, he's played 2 tournaments, missed a cut in both. There's also been quite a bit of publicity recently about his new relationship. We know he likes the old ladies, don't we, Rory? And he's taken up with this Erika Stoll, who's quite high up on the PGA. She's an official, and there's been a lot of press about it. And since that came out, as the 2 missed cuts have appeared, and I'm not sure if there's something, you know, listen, they all have relationships, but because she's in the public eye and in the PGA Tour, it might have a little effect at the beginning. 2 missed cuts coming into it, 7-1, not for me, but yeah, I do think he will be a great and he'll win many majors.
No, I think that's very fair. Very interesting you remarked on his new relationship. Obviously a little bit of mixing business and pleasure there, being in the golf industry. Hopefully, last time he broke up with a girlfriend, he went on and won a major tournament, so who knows, maybe we'll have to wait. Maybe that'll be an emerging pattern to follow of sorts.
Yeah, we'll look out for him breaking up with her and then we'll jump on.
Yeah, there we go. That's our useless statistic of the evening, I think. David, I'd love to get your view on Rory. We spoke off air actually a little bit about his recent tournament failings, if you like, at the Irish Open. But you've got a little bit of a theory, not a theory necessarily, but you've got a view on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't think we can kind of write him off just based on the Irish Open. I think Dean made a very valid point about you know, with the ladies and that sort of thing. I think that could be an issue, but I mean, maybe not. But I think that his form at the Irish Open wasn't great. He came into it off the back of a win at the WGC Match Play. I thought he played fabulous all week personally, but he, you know, with the pressure of hosting the Irish Open, especially in his own backyard in Royal County Down, I think the pressure may have got to him a little bit. He had a lot to do, he had a lot of people to see, a lot of hands to shake. And I wouldn't write him off based on that, but I do think that Chambers Bay, as a favourite, I'd be favouring more Jordan Spieth than Rory. Reason being is that I think Jordan is just playing a bit better than him over the last, say, 10 events, and he's really shown. Spieth has shown some absolutely fabulous form, fabulous touch around the greens, and I think McIlroy can be a little bit questionable with the putter. He's a bit streaky. He can be fantastic one day, and he can be. I wouldn't go as be as unfair as to say bad, but he's been middling. And I think he's got the all-round game. His long game is phenomenal. His short game is superb. His only thing I think that's poor is his putting. And I think if he brings a good putter to Chambers Bay, he could feature. I think he hits the ball a little bit too high at the moment for a windy golf course. I don't think he's put in enough practice out there, whereas Jordan Spieth has. And so I just think in terms of if you fancy backing a favourite, I would more favour Jordan over Rory, to be honest.
That's absolutely fine. I mean, Rory was announced this week as the 12th richest sportsman in the world, so he's doing something right, you know. But as sportsmen go to those echelons, it's very difficult to then repeat your performance on the playing field. He'll have a lot more commitments than most of those players in there with regards to sponsors, promotions, adverts, that kind of thing. And he is arguably going to be going towards that global brand, but he needs to get the results as well. You know, I don't think that goes without saying. And of course, David, you're right to mention the coastal wind. We should have touched on that possibly at the start with regards to the course. Weather looks pretty set fair, so I don't think that will necessarily play too many problems other than a little bit of of wind that I see across the course from my understanding, but obviously anything can change in those sort of conditions. Well, the next player you mentioned briefly, David, we'll move on to is, of course, Jordan Spieth, a wonderful golfing talent, I think, undoubtedly, for his age. You know, his career highlight, when the way he won that Masters, was just phenomenal, and he did everything right that day. Well, that week, let's be honest, he led from start to finish. It was quite breathtaking. Dean, do you think he should be the favourite for this tournament, given what he's coming in off the back of this season compared to Rory?
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah, quite possibly should maybe be favourite over Rory. The difference, obviously, coming into this event, the Masters, he had an obvious chance. He'd been second there on his debut the year before, was playing out of his skin. His chance isn't quite as obvious here. He's played, I think, 3 US Open. His best finish is 17th. Also, I know these young superstars, you know, that they're used to pressure and that, but he will have an immense amount of pressure on his shoulders this week. He's the, you know, new American superstar. The last time anyone won, you know, the first 2 majors was Tiger Woods back in 2002. It doesn't happen very often. I think, you know, literally everyone's going to want a quote from him and etc. Yeah, he's probably got a bit more chance than McIlroy. But I think if you work it out, I think the front 2 in the market combined would work out about 3 to 1. That's not for me. I'd rather oppose the front 2, to be honest.
No, that's absolutely fine. That's why we've got you on here. We like to have an opinion, and you're just giving it. David, what's your view on Jordan? We've got some stats up on the screen. 84% cut record. I like to see something like that, but in the context of a player of his ability, we'd want him to be, you know, around that mark, if not higher.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly do think Jordan has a huge chance around Chambers Bay. Reason being is that he's coming in, as we all know, with off the back of 2 wins, a fantastic win at the Masters in Augusta. He played phenomenal at the Valspar as well. He also he shot a great round, final round of 65 last week in Ohio at Jack's tournament to finish tied 3rd. So he really is showing a lot of steady, consistent form. He also finished tied 2nd at the Crowne Plaza at Colonial. So I also found out during the week, Jordan's caddy, Mike Greller, is actually a member of Chambers Bay. So he has a lot of kind of insider knowledge about the best way to play approach shots into the greens and the best part of the fairway to hit in order to attack the flags. So he that is going to give Spieth a huge advantage, plus the fact that he's played a good few practice rounds over the last couple of months in Chambers Bay, and he played the 2010 US Amateur. Now, he has come out to say about the 2010 US Amateur that he was only 17 at the time. He couldn't really hit the ball as long as he can now. So he feels that that's a big that's going to be the difference this time around, I suppose, rather than before. So, I mean, statistically, he seems to also tick the boxes for me. I mean, he's averaging just over 290 off the tee in driving distance. He ranks 3rd in strokes gained tee to green. He's 20th in strokes gained putting, 10th in proximity to the hole. So I also think as well that, you know, a key yardage into these par 4s is probably going to be between 175 and 200 yards, especially on kind of the par 4s. You know, Jordan ranks 22nd in approaches from 125 yards to 150, and he also ranks 21st in approaches from 150 yards to 170. He ranks 9th in scrambling, 1st in par 4 scoring. Like, he ticks a lot of the boxes. He's a lovely touch around the greens. I think he's going to be, if he gets going, he's going to be a tough man to beat, in my opinion. Excellent.
And is he on your shortlist, David? Is he on your possible?
He is absolutely on my shortlist. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So we've got complete polar opposite views, which I love. I've got to say, you've made a very fair argument. Dean, he's probably winning me over at the moment, but I know you've got a bit of a long shot for later, so I shall hear you out before I make my decision on which one of your views I shall take into account. Well, next up in the odds list, I suppose you could say, and I thought it was a little bit odd to see him as possible 3rd favourite, but I may well be corrected, was going to be Dustin Johnson. I was a little bit surprised to see him in there. Dean, have you got a particular strong view on him? Around the 20 to 1 mark, I think is the best price you can get for him. Obviously, recently withdrew, citing not feeling too good. It's never a nice thing to go into a tournament probably on the back of. You'd rather go on with some more positive form. Any particular view either way, or have you not got one on him really?
Yeah, well, you took the words right out of my mouth, really. I would have, ideally, for any selection this week, I would prefer them not to be playing in the tournament this week. That I would rather them be tinkering around at the course, whatever, than playing in the tournament. I was surprised when Dustin Johnson turned up. I think he played about 10 holes, was 3 over par, and then got a poorly tummy from nowhere. So that's probably unlikely that happened. He was just out of form. He's got a couple of top 10s in the US Open, and he's played well in our Open Championship, which should serve him well on the links course. Listen, when you bet, golf's not like a horse race where you've got 8 runners, 9 runners, and you can knock 3 or 4 of them out. There's plenty of chances. You're not going to sit here on Sunday night and if Dustin Johnson's won, say, how the hell's he won that? He's more than capable of winning it, but he's not for me, especially around about 20 to 1. There's others I much prefer at far bigger odds.
No, that's absolutely fine. David, you nodded in agreement there. Do we think that that's a fair shout?
Yeah, I agree with you, Dean, to be honest. I think another thing, like he did play well in Doral. He won in Doral, obviously. You know, he's a couple of top 10s as well coming into this. I thought at the Byron Nelson a couple of weeks ago, he played, I think it was the 8th or 9th. I think he took an 8 on the par 4, which completely took him out of it. It's just not really like him to do that. He did, you know, so I think, you know, he kind of fell off the pace last week in Ohio as well. He was kind of co-leading or thereabouts after 2 or 3 rounds. There's many arguments that would, as Dean said, like if he won, nobody'd be sitting there going, how did he do it? Because he has a lot of the shots and he's very long, and I think that's going to be a big plus around here. I just don't think he's really for me either. I agree with Dean. I think there's guys that are, you know, that just have that bit better form and seem to be kind of hitting the ball a bit better now over the last few weeks than Dustin is. So I think I'd oppose him. I'd leave him out personally.
That's absolutely fine. I suppose we better whiz onwards to Justin Rose, and probably the great hope from these shores that he could possibly be the one, if Rory's not going to be informed, to be putting his name on the trophy as such. He's in at the 20 to 1 mark. David, Justin Rose, are you a fan? Are you impressed with the way that he's continued to grow as a player?
Yeah, I really. He did kind of let me down last week because I did back him last week and he lost in the playoff, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, I think Justin's he's playing great. He's won in New Orleans with a fabulous performance. Good day at the Masters, or good week at the Masters. Yeah, he's playing well. I don't think I saw on Twitter that he's actually not in Chambers Bay until next Tuesday. He's going home for a couple of days. And he said he's going to get there on Tuesday, play a couple of practice rounds, and then go out there on Thursday. So he hasn't. He said that he hasn't put in as much preparation for this one as he did when he won in Marion in 2013. So he seems to. I mean, I wouldn't talk anybody out of backing him, but I just think you might need probably 3, 4, 5, 6 practice rounds around Chambers Bay before you tackle it on the first tee on Thursday in the first round.
It's very interesting you said it, because I was just flicking through his Instagram and he's put a picture up which makes it appear that he's actually there, but he's obviously not.
Oh, really?
Going. Yeah, he said he's had his first look at the tournament. So maybe this is a man that feels that he doesn't want that practice. Maybe he wants to go there fresh, relaxed, and turn up there with a different kind of attitude. Perhaps he's more fearful in a silly way of if he goes out there and has some terrible practice rounds, the fear creeps in and that does him out of it. Dean, I'd love your view on this. Is he a man you've backed before in any tournaments, and would you be considering him for your shortlist?
I mean, listen, again, Justin Rose merits utmost respect. He's a fantastic player. He's won the US Open. I'm not going to sit here and say he can't win. I was a bit put off by the way he finished at Memorial last week, and obviously Dave would have been upset by it as well. He was very wayward on the closing hole in regular time, and in the playoff as well. He was, you know, left and right. It's not ideal coming into the US Open to have finished the tournament like that he should have won. Let's be honest. When it's neck and neck, him and David Lingworth, everyone's expecting Rosie to win. Not ideal. Again, he's got a chance, but there's others I much prefer to Justin.
That's fine. That's absolutely fine. Thank you for sharing your views on him. The next golfer we come to is a man that I will back blind every time there's a Master tournament till he's there just as a veteran enjoying a day out, and he's I think he's a big fan's favourite as well. It's Phil Mickelson. A great player, but possibly will this tournament play to his strengths? Do you think, Dave? Are you a lefty fan?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I think he's a great shout. He's 25-1. He has a fabulous US Open record. He's over the last 20 odd years, since 1995, Phil has finished in the top 10 times. He's been showing glimpses of great form over the last couple of months. He's 4 top 20s in his last 8 starts. He played well at the Honda Classic there earlier on in the season, finishing tied 17th. He was tied 17th at the Houston Open, tied 2nd in Augusta. And if it weren't for playing the 18th badly in Quail Hollow at the Wells Fargo, I think he would have finished better than tied 4th. But he seems to be kind of hitting the ball well. He plays well on links setups. He's proven that over the last few years. He obviously won the Open Championship in 2013 in Muirfield. He was tied 23rd in Hoylake, and he was tied 2nd in 2011 in Sandwich. So I think he does have solid links form, and he's all the shots in his artillery. I think he's a fabulous touch around the greens, fabulous wedges. He can play chip and runs. He can play flop shots. He can play, you name it, he can play it around the greens. And he also ticks a lot of the boxes for me statistically. He ranks 20 inside the top 30 in driving distance. He's 7th in approaches for 175 to 200 yards, and he's 17th in approaches from 225 to 250. So, I mean, a lot of imagination is going to be required, I think, around these greens. And I think, as we all know, Phil has that in buckets, and I think he's a really solid bet for this tournament, I think.
No, there's one man we can rely on to try something a little bit different when perhaps he's chasing as well. He's not got that. Maybe it's the older head on the shoulders that he will go for the
older and wiser.
Yeah, exactly, and I think in some ways it pays off. Dean, you may not be picking him, but you might be not surprised to be seeing him up there, like we mentioned a few of these other ones.
Yeah, he's not made my 3 that I'm going to be putting up, but he's a major candidate. I would put his chance above Dustin Johnson and Justin Rose for sure. He turns 45 a couple of days before the Open. He's been there playing it quite a bit. I read recently that he said it reminded him very much of St Andrews when he first turned up, in respect of when he first stood there, you don't know where to hit the ball. You just don't know what route to take. But the more you play it, the more you love it. So he's talking well about the course. But the 2 things that worry me is I just think he wants this so bad. It's the only major that's eluded him. He's finished 2nd 6 times. You know, when you want something that bad, like, you know, if he comes down the stretch and he's there, is it, you know, slight things go wrong. It could play on his mind. I'm never going to do it, and he knows his chances are running out. You know, he's, like I say, he's 45 in a couple of days' time. You're not going to be winning US Opens when you're 50, so
true.
That could play on his mind. Also, he's playing at St Jude this week, which I said earlier, I'd rather not been the case for someone that I was going to back. So he's got the game for it. I said earlier, I think you're going to need some imagination around this course, because it is a bit quirky, and no one plays shots like Phil does. You know, it's fantastic watching him. So I'd put him above Dustin and Justin Rose as far as having a chance. I wouldn't blame anyone for backing him, but he just fell short of who I'm going to be playing on.
No, that's absolutely fine. He'll probably be carrying a little bit of my money, so he's going to probably have a terrible week, unfortunately, as a result of doing so. The next one down on our supposed big 6, if you like, is a man that, well, he's promised a lot for a little while now. I still argue he was one of the most exciting talents to burst onto the scene, if you like, and it's going to be Rickie Fowler. He seems to have a bit of a love or hate him approach to the game. I do think he looks to have settled down more, and he seems to be playing more confidently. Dean, this guy's one you're quite keen on, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a Rickie fan for this week. The guy is so talented, it's frightening, and I was so close to giving up on him a few weeks back, just before the Players' Championship. He was going to go in my kicking the touch golfers, because he hadn't won very often. I think he'd only won once. and then that supposed poll come out that there was a magazine poll, wasn't there, where they apparently asked all the other golfers who was the most overrated player around, and Rickie Fowler came out on top. Now, apparently after that, Butch Harmon, who is his coach, pulled him to one side and said, "Look, Rickie, you know, you're wasting your talent. You know, you've got plenty of time to be doing all your surfboarding and whatever it is he gets up to. You want to concentrate on your golf, prove everyone wrong." And what a response. I mean, to do what he did round Sawgrass, the way he finished that back nine, I thought was fantastic. Also, as we've said, this is a links course. He's made no secret of the fact he loves links golf. Every time he comes over to the UK, he says what he loves about it is you've got to imagine a shot in your head. It's not, you know, we've got 150 of the flag, pull out, you know, whatever, bash. You've got to imagine, you know, you're hitting shots 20 yards to the left, running it up. All these sort of shots are going to be used this week. So I've got a feeling that Rickie's going to love it round here. He's certainly got the imagination for it. Martin Keimer pulled off the double last year. He won the Players and then the US Open. So I'm hoping Rickie Fowler can follow suit. And obviously, with Jordan Spieth winning the Masters, you know, it could be another one for the young brigade, and Rickie will be wanting to follow him. And he's my number one pick, Rickie, definitely.
Excellent. Well, I like to hear a confident analysis. I'll leave it up to David to see if he's going to then try and shoot down said analysis. David?
No, I'm on the Rickie train as well. I think he's a real proven links specialist, I think, over the last few years. As Dean said there a few minutes ago, he has said it is his favourite form of golf. He started very well at the Irish Open, I thought. He started super with 271s. I mean, I don't know if you guys were watching it, but the weather was horrific over the weekend. Yeah. Saturday was unbelievably bad. He shot a 76 on the Saturday, but he bounced back well in a very tricky conditions on the Sunday with a 73. So I think, like, you know, he finished a tight 30th. I mean, he was right in the thick of it up to Saturday. I wouldn't hold that against him. I mean, it was, if you could play in those conditions, you're doing well. But I mean, he has proven he has played well in links setups before. He was second to Rory there last year. He finished 2 strokes behind him, and you know, he does seem to thrive in tricky conditions. And I think that will really kind of. I don't think it's to be too bad in Chambers Bay. I think it's to be sherry, but it won't be too bad. But I think if it gets worse, he'll like that, I think. And you know, he's had, as Dean said as well, he played super at the Players in Sawgrass. I thought he put it fantastically well. He was tied 9th at the WGC match play, and you know, he'd have tied 12th then in Augusta. So he's coming in off some good form. He's good stats too. He's 11th in approaches from 200 to 225. He's 3rd in approaches from 150 to 175. I think you'd be silly to bet against Rickie, in my opinion. I think he's going to be a big contender here.
And at the prices, I think of those that we'd argue are considered in the big 6 or big 8, depending on who you want to include in there for form purposes. You know, he is of the bigger size prices. So if you like an each way bet, and if he can get through, he's one of those that we can probably count in as a good option.
Absolutely.
I'm absolutely delighted to say, on that note, just as we complete the big 6, that we've had an additional guest join us. I wish you good evening, Paul.
Hi, how you doing, guys? Sorry, I'm not sure what went wrong, but I'm here.
That's
now.
all right. You're here now. That's the main thing. So just a quick introduction, Paul, for those that don't know you, with regards to your golfing background, perhaps, and how you like to bet golf. Just fill us in, really.
Well, I'll be very honest up front. I've never swung a club in my life. I think that's, for me, the best way of doing it. I played football, and I'm very bad at betting on that, so I'll stick to not playing golf. But I'm a form person. Unlike David and so on, who thinks more of the course, I tend to look at form. I think if your form's there, you can play most courses.
Yeah.
So I'd say a lot of it is form, and form at that course if it's a repeat event. Lovely.
Okay. Well, now we've got an additional judge in. I suppose it's only fair to start going through what their actual selections are. Now, a couple of these we've already mentioned, but I know, Dean, you had a couple of selections that were outside those big 6 that you wanted us to talk about. Do you want to put your first one up for me, and I shall let you tell us why he is good value?
Yeah, Brandt Snedeker. He's 66 to 1. I was amazed to see that. I thought it'd be half those odds, 40s at best, but 66s. He finished second at Colonial a couple of weeks ago. Then he followed that up with a very nice 6th place in the Byron Nelson. He closed with a pair of 64s there, so he's in top form. He's already won this year at Pebble Beach. He's had 3 top 10s in his last 6 US Opens. As well as that, he's finished 3rd and 11th in the Open over here, so it shows that he likes linked golf. I just think that I'm slightly concerned about his accuracy off the tee, but we're not sure about this course yet, who it's going to favour. I'm not going to drop him out because of that. I think he's got the game, he's got the imagination that we said. You know, it's a quirky course. He putts like unbelievably well. So he ticks all the boxes for me. He's in form. He's done well at US Opens. He likes links golf. 66 to 1 for a place. You know, you can get sort of first 6 with most bookmakers now. I think he's compared to the likes of, like we said, Dustin Johnson at 20s. I can't have him being 46 points bigger than Dustin. He's got to be in there for me. So it's Rickie Fowler, Brandt Snedeker, and I've got one more for later. Okay,
I shall let you hold your powder for that one. David, just recap on the first couple we've touched on, because you am I right in thinking you had 4 up your sleeve?
I do, yeah. I have 4. I've decided to go for Jordan Spieth. I just think his form is too good, and I think he's a lot of pluses, especially with his caddy being a member around Chambers Bay. I think that's a big advantage around here. He's playing well. He knows how to play well in major championships. He's won one already this year. I think he's going to be a good bet. I've also gone for Rickie Fowler, as I said, as Dean has as well. And I've also gone for Phil Mickelson, and I've one more for later as well.
Okay, excellent. A slightly bigger price, I'm guessing.
Slightly bigger price, yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Well, let's come back to Paul. Paul, you've got to give us the winner because you were a little bit late. That's the rule of it. So, you want to share with us a couple of selections that you might have for...
Yeah, there's 2 I've got, and there's the one that I'm most unsure about, and is Matsuyama.
Okay.
Seems to always be the runner-up. I mean, he's a nice price at 45 to 1 or thereabouts when I looked this morning, but he has trouble getting over the line. He does well in the big tournaments, but I really like him at 45 to 1. He's been Mr. Reliable for me. If you look at some of his stats, and bear with me a second, I've got them just here. You know, he's at 45 to 1. He's 16 events, 8 top 10 finishes. He was T5 in the Memorial, so you know they're not weak events, and things like that are just enough to want me to have a little nibble at him. He's going to get there sooner or later, and I just can't decide whether it's now.
So are you viewing him more as a I'm confident he's going to be there or thereabouts to be placing, and if he wins, it's a bonus kind of selection for that?
A little bit of hedging my bets. I certainly wouldn't back him to win outright. It'd certainly be an each way play. But I'm convinced. I've watched him enough that if he hooks his game up from first to the last hole, he can win it.
Excellent. Okay. Well,
say Sam, just touching on Matsuyama there. I totally agree. He's finished in the top 5 in 5 of his 11 starts this year. He does have trouble getting over the line. I think we've not really mentioned it during this preview, but he could be the ideal guy to back in view of trading off. You know, if you can get 40, 50s, something like that on Betfair, you can bet your life he's going to trade at half those odds at some point during the tournament. So he could be one to look at.
Didn't he also feature in the Open a couple of years ago as well, if memory serves?
Yeah, at Muirfield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean that's another tick. Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't rule him out.
So I make that now that we've got one final selection to come from all of you, and I'm guessing this will be the slightly bigger priced one. So this is where my eyes light up, because I like Jordan Spieth, but I can't be backing it at those prices, guys. I'm going to go in order I can see on the screen. So David, I'll start with you. Let's have your each way, or your outsider, or your slightly bigger price.
Yeah, well, a slightly bigger price. I've gone for Jim Furyk at 40 to 1. A lot of people will be going, oh God, but still, I think Jim really showed a lot of grit, I think, when he won at the RBC Heritage in Harbour Town. He played great in that playoff. I think, if memory serves, he shot a 64 in the final round to actually get into the playoff, and beat Kevin Kisner on the 17th. I think it was around a 10 or 12 foot birdie putt on the par 3 17th, which is, I mean, he rattled it in. It wasn't cozied up beside the hole, so he really played that with a lot of confidence. And he then kind of followed that with a solo fourth at the match play and a tight fifth then last week at Memorial. So he's also showed some good early season form. As Dean said about Snedeker and Pebble Beach, Jim actually led, if you remember, up to the final round. He was tight, finished tight seventh. He also opened with a super 64 there at Pebble Beach. He then was tied 12th then in Doral at the WGC Cadillac. His US Open form has been brilliant over the last few years. He actually won the 2004 US Open in Shinnecock Hills. He also followed that with a second in 2006 and 2007. He was fourth in 2012, and then he was tied 12th last year. He seems to be really, a really good, solid US Open form. He's showing some really good current form at the moment. He ranks 8th in drive and accuracy. He's an extremely accurate guy off the tee. He's 14th in greens and regulation, 10th in strokes gained tee to green, and first in proximity to the hole. As I said to you earlier, I think proximity is going to be probably one of the key stats around Chambers Bay. He also ranks 8th in approaches from 175 to 200 yards. So with great form lately and good US Open form, I think potentially Chambers Bay could be a good fit for Jim at 40 to 1.
But Dave, do you not have a slight concern with the fact that this is Jim Furyk and he has a tendency to, I don't know how to say this in the most polite way without sounding rude, because he's a much better golfer than I'd ever be. But do you not fear that if he's in the final round that he is going to have wobbly legs and I just couldn't. I wouldn't want to see that, I don't think. So if I backed him, I think I'd be so fearful of him being in the lead going into that final round.
Yeah. No, I agree, and I couldn't disagree with you there. I think that's a fair point. I do think he did kind of get over a milestone there at Harbour Town. I think he really showed it. It was a different Jim Furyk, I felt, anyway, when I watched it. He's let me down a lot over the last few years, but I'm willing to give him one last shot. And especially with a good solid US Open record, I think at 40 to 1, even if he places, you're still looking at a good each way place,
Well, thank you, Dave. A man that would have kicked him into touch a long time ago, I suspect, is Dean. Dean, you've got your list of golfers that you won't touch after now, but tell us who you are thinking about having a little bit of a play on at a bigger price.
Right, I've got a real good one here, 150s, I think.
Oh, you're talking my language.
I backed Zach Johnson and Trevor Immelman when they won the Masters in 2007 and 2008. They were around those prices as well. This guy, I'm going to put him up for you now, 150s. I think you might even get 175 with one firm. Right, Brendan Todd. Okay, now he played. You might not have, might not be one of the most familiar names, but I'm gonna sell it to you now. Right, he played fantastic at Memorial last week. Finished 17th. He's already recorded 3 top 10s this season. Now, last year was his first full season on tour, and he won the Byron Nelson Championship. It's no mean feat. Was very impressive last year in the US Open. That was his first ever go at the US Open. He finished 17th, but he was one of only 3 men that recorded 3 rounds in the 60s. Martin Keimer obviously won, Keegan Bradley and himself. He's finished inside the top 10, 9 of his last 33 stroke play events, so that's good going. He's currently ranked 9th for driving accuracy, which is, could be a premium round here. But he's also ranked 12th for scrambling, which it should stand him in good stead. I've been watching this guy for a while. He's always there or thereabouts, and I also think if the chance comes, he won't do a Jimbo Furyk and bottle it. So we're 150s or bigger each way. Brendan Todd for me.
Dean, he already wins for me over Dave's big price tip, not Jim Furyk, unfortunately. I mean that in the nice way possible. But of course, there's one more contender to come. You might have turned up late, Paul, but we'll forgive you for that if you can give us the winner at this price. Who's your, should we say, slightly more of an outside bet for the event?
I followed a similar line as Dean, if I'm honest. I've gone for someone that I was surprised at the odds when I saw them. That's Chris Kirk. He's sitting around the 100 to 1 mark.
Okay.
I'll give you my rationale. I'll tell him to you as well. He won the Crown Plaza, which was one of my tips in May, which did me very nicely. But actually, if you look around that, in the Players' Championship, he had one bad round, finished tied 13th. It was to the last round. He carded a 75. Had he carded a couple of shots better, he'd have been earning a lot more money that round, and could well have earned me a lot more money, to be fair. So one bad round in the Players' Championship, strong field. The other one, and again in the Memorial, he had 3 very good rounds, a 69, a 71. The third round was the 76, which let him down, and then another 69. So he's number 16 in the world for a reason. He just needs 4 good rounds. He needs to get rid of that one bad round. And if he can do it anywhere, he can do it here. We've seen him win this year. You know, he's not a 100-to-1 shot. He might well let me down with one bad round, but I will be taking some of that 100-to-1.
No, that's excellent, Paul. I quite enjoyed your mini review of why you were trying to sell it to me. You've all done excellent jobs, guys. I've got one more question that I must ask. Housewife's favourite, of course, Tiger Woods. Is it even worth looking at him in this tournament? Is it even worth looking at him ever again? I want an honest view here. This is a man that changed the way golf markets are formed. No one's come close to dominating the way he did in his peak. Is there a chance we could see him back to his best? I'll go in order I can see you. David, you'll start with me.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't back him here. Definitely not. He's just all over the shop. He's hitting it everywhere. I couldn't think of. There's so many reasons running through my mind as to why you shouldn't. But I think he will be back to his best. I don't think we should write him off. He's just a little bit erratic off the tee. I think he's lost a lot of confidence. I don't think that guy Chris Como has done a great job with him, if I'm honest. And I don't think he did the best thing by leaving his previous coach. So I think, I wouldn't back him here, but I think he will feature again. He'll be back. He's a real grafter in the game. He really practices hard. He loves it. He's a fabulous. He was one of the best putters. He was one of the best putters in the world. And I think he will be back. I wouldn't write him off yet.
Okay, Dean, are you going to be putting him a line through him for the next 20 tournaments and have no interest in looking at him?
Well, certainly put a line through him for this one. I really hope he does come back. I think it's sad seeing him playing as he is. Whatever he's done in his personal life, nothing to do with me. As a golfer, like you said, he was just phenomenal. I'd like to see him come back to his best. If he does ever perform well in the next year, it's more likely to be on a course where he's, had a good record in the past, like an Augusta or one of those, where he's won there several times. He's not going to roll up here and win, that's for sure. He's more likely going to be, miscut again.
Excellent, that's fine. Paul, you're not going to tell me that he's going to make an incredible comeback, are you?
No, I worded it in one sentence to my friend this morning. You'd have to put a 0 on the 40-to-1s that he's out there at for me to back him.
He is short, isn't he? He is short.
With that round last week, I was thinking about it because he showed glimpses a little while ago that he was edging back to form, and that round last week just killed it for me. I would not put anything on him at the moment, but I desperately hope he gets back to what he was because he's a hero of mine from the golfing world, and as Dean said, it's sad to see him the way he is. Really sad.
It is. Well, that brings us towards the end of our hangout. Unless anyone else wants to add any other pearls of wisdom that they've got regarding the US Open, we shall let the video go up, and the proof will be in the pudding, gents. You've put some fantastic reasons behind your selections. We're hopefully going to be back with the selections of videos throughout the rest of the golf season. Obviously, we've got some big events coming up. There's a little tournament in this country coming up soon that I'm sure we're all going to want to discuss and cover. But I want to thank David, Dean and Paul for joining me this evening. Don't forget to head to the OLBG Golf Tips page. There's some fantastic blog resources there as well you can find out about, and you can see as we get closer to the event what else our other members are backing, because there are other profitable members out there than just the two we put in front of you this evening as well. I want to thank all my panel for their time this evening, and enjoy the tournament, whoever you back. Hopefully we've helped you get the winner, and one of us will be laughing, or maybe a couple of us with some of our selections. Thank you for watching.